This is a big night, big month, big year for St. John the Evangelist. It is the oldest Catholic church in Baltimore County, and it will be celebrating its 200th anniversary all year long. The special people you are about to meet will have you believing in divine intervention. This is a great story on a Good Friday. You could call this God's country because people have been called here in amazing ways. You could say they followed their heart to cross paths at the heart of the cross, like Ben and Deb Jenkins. 37 years ago, they were relocating from Southern Maryland.
A real estate agent was taking us around, and he brought us up here, and we just happened to find this place.
Well, there's a little bit more to the story than that.
Always.
The house they settled on sits right across from the church. Deb wandered the cemetery that sits on the side after Mass one Sunday.
Saw all these Jenkins graves that the people had come up from Southern Maryland, which is where Ben's family is from. So I went home and I said, Ben, these gotta be your relatives.
They are. In fact, Ben quickly learned it was his ancestors that donated the land where the chapel now stands, on land called Jenkins.
I married into the Kelly family in 1971.
The first family of the church might be the Kellys. There are a million of them. Margot had a chance meeting with one Kelly who was holding the door as she was on a date with another Kelly.
When I was leaving with his brother Tom, Ed held the door open for me and said, Tom and I switch dates sometime. And I looked at him and I said, you will like hell.
Margot would marry the doorman and live happily ever after until ever after arrived 3 years ago. And
I'm gonna get very sentimental. They were there for me when my husband passed. It'll be 3 years in June. And I mean, they stepped in and it's like whatever I needed. They brought me meals, the community. It's like having a second family.
Adele thinks about this church every day. After all, she and her husband John have been parishioners here for 45 years.
The reason I was thinking so much about it is that when my husband's grandmother passed in 78, the only thing my mother-in-law wanted from her was her wedding band. And I wear that wedding band every day.
So while we're talking wedding bands, Jen, take us to the altar.
I was married at St. John's Church in the year 2000. My sister was married in 1995. My parents were married in, let me just look here, 1963. My grandparents were married in the old stone chapel in 1940, and my great-grandparents were married there in 1896.
That is simply amazing. And when Jen's sister married and moved off to Canada with her husband, when she died of breast cancer, there was but one final resting place. She had to come home to St. John's.
It means family. It means tradition. It means a deep sense of history and a deep sense of, belonging.
From the storytellers you heard tonight to those in the pew, may all your prayers be answered in the land of Jenkins, or in God's country. Coming up on April the 18th, Archbishop Laurie will be out there to hold Mass and to begin the year-long celebration of St. John's wonderful 200 years of life. Believe me, more history lessons to come.